Hello, America, especially those of you joining us from Minnesota. My name is Keith. I'm also known on social media mostly as 507 Patriot MN, and I'm a part of Operation Get Involved. Today we're doing a brief tutorial, a little bit of training, a little bit of a teaser about a training seminar that we offer. So this is 23-001, and it has to do with CAFR. Now, many of you maybe have never heard that term, C.A.F.R, a comprehensive annual financial report. Some of you might equate it to the same as your city budget, your county budget, or your school board budget. When you ask them, hey, how are we doing financially? What are we spending our money on? You ask for the budget, and that's what you get. That's what they publish in the newspaper and whatnot to kind of tell you how they're doing. Well, folks, you're kind of being scammed by your government agency and boards. I know, shocker, especially in 2023. Today, we're going to pull that curtain back. We're going to expose some of that. We're going to give you some truth bombs. We're going to talk to you a little bit about a CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Keyword being comprehensive. Now, they're easy to get, people. You can do them through a FOIA request, or in Minnesota, what we call our state statute chapter 13 public data request, or PDRs. The fun thing is they're absolutely free no matter how large they are because they're already published. So it's illegal, not to mention immoral, for an official to try to charge you for these documents. Now, I have one that I got today through an electronic public data request, and it's 130 pages. I have another one that's 311 pages. So they are, in fact, comprehensive. But they don't want you to know about them. Here's why. Well, we'll get into the here's why in just a little bit. But how many of you have often questioned, hey, where is our money? How are we sitting? How are we doing? What's the proposed budget? What are we spending our money on? What is the income or the revenue that we have? How often do they budget or raise taxes or introduce a bonding bill because of one of their pet projects, and then later, although usually shortly thereafter, they want even more money, right? It happens all the time. Well, you're being scammed, and we're going to show you a little bit of that right now. Let's just take a look at some of the things that are in a CAFR, okay? And I'm going to read through a list, and this is the boring part. I'm sorry, I try to keep the videos under 5 minutes. But you're going to get a statement of your net assets of the organization or the governmental entity that you're asking for this comprehensive financial report from. You're going to get a statement of their activities, a fund financial statement, the government funds, their balance sheet, statement of revenues, statement of expenditures, charges in the fund balances. You're going to get to see their proprietary funds, the statement of net assets, statement of cash flow. And these are just some of the things. This is a 2-page list. I'm just giving you a couple of highlights. You're going to get the non-major special revenue funds. What could that be? Well, truthfully, it could be almost anything they want it to be. But you're not going to see it on their budget that they put in the newspaper or online. Hey, let's find out where we sit in our library fund, in our bookmobile fund, in our library endowment fund. Did you catch that? There's 2 separate library funds at least. But if you don't know, then you don't know how to ask the right questions. What about the Community Development Block Grant Fund, in addition to the Community Development Fund? See, again, 2 different funds. But if you didn't know better and you only asked for one of the community development funds, that's all they would tell you about. How about the Local Option Sales Tax Fund, if that exists? The Park Fund, the Recreation Fund, the Flood Control Fund, the Community Fund. Folks, it goes on and on and on, and that's why the reports are so long, okay? That's what's in a CAFR. That's a little sliver. But now let's back up. Let's say your community wants to build a community center. Even if your community doesn't want to build a community center. Let's say your city or your school district wants to build a community center, and they want to ram that project right down your throat. I know that never happens either, right? Well, let's say they've talked about it for 8 years, And in that 8 years, let me just show you some of what can happen, and usually does. They probably created a task force to study this, or a focus group, or a feasibility study, and actually started raising funds. Now, whether that's they took some from this pile and put it over in this pile to pay for a feasibility study or to start saving money for this project, when you see them do that, they've already decided they're going ahead with or without your vote. Just know that, okay? It's just the truth. I said we're going to spit some truth bombs. Keep in mind they're putting these funds in for the 8 years that they've been talking about. Oh gosh, our old community building's about served its life expectancy, or maybe they've never had one, or maybe it's a fire hall, whatever. It all goes the same. They likely have already received some regional or state or federal funds, whether it was for the study or purchasing land in the future or whatnot. Okay, so keep in mind 8 years, and I'm just throwing a number out there. I've seen some of these projects planned for 15 or 20 years. Planning's important, planning's good, but watch how they're going to soak you in a minute. We're going to show you. All of those funds are gaining interest. Big dollars, big interest. Some of them are even being invested by the city or the county or the state or the school board into other projects where they're going to earn a higher yield, hopefully, right? They're going to earn a higher rate of interest. They're going to invest that money rather than just have it sit there and hope that that investment pays off. Let me ask you a question. Has the city or the county or the school board ever told you that they invested something and it backfired? That it went south? That they lost money? Because they do. But they don't tell you that, do they? You see, folks, we're in a day and age where you've got to ask questions. And that's what Operation Get Involved is all about. We're teaching and training and educating you to get involved, to go to not only the city council meeting, the county board meeting, the school board meeting, but here's where the real work is done. You've got to backtrack a little bit. You have to go to their study groups, their workshops, their focus meetings. They're all open by law in the state of Minnesota. They're public meetings. They have to be open. They have to allow you to go in. But you rarely do because they're boring as heck. You can't talk at them. You don't get to give any input unless they have a specific citizen focus group where they're going to open up a hearing. But you glean a lot of information and a lot of decisions are made there, and then they come out and do their pomp and circumstance, or what I call their dog and pony show, at their real official meeting, their school board meeting, city council, whatever. So all this money is gaining interest, it's invested. Hey, let's say they lost money on that investment. Who's accountable for that? And are they ever held accountable? Well, of course they can't be held accountable if the voting public doesn't know that they've done that they've pulled that, or that they lost money, or who should be accountable for it. Somebody should be. Ultimately, it should be your elected officials. But somebody is a department head or somebody that oversees that. All right, let's keep going. 8 years down the road, let's say they announce they're going to build this community center. Maybe you even voted on it and said we're going to build a community center. And they give you a price tag. This is how much it's going to cost. And they might even say, here's where we're going to put it and whatnot. And then, of course, there's the big push of we got to get this done now because construction costs continually go up. Land values are continually going up. So if we don't do this now, we're in trouble. You know, they push that hot button. Millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, so how do they raise that? Well, they do bond referendums, they increase taxes, they probably do some fundraising projects, and of course, corporate donations. Now, if you give a corporate donation to something like this, you should still be concerned about the money you donate. You are to be a good steward of your finances, even as a corporation. And so should your city, county, and state. What they don't tell you when they announce this price tag is usually how much they've already raised. And if they do say, hey, we've got this little bit over here in this fund, are they telling you the truth about interest? Are they telling you the truth about grants or low interest loans from the region or the state or the federal government? Are they telling you everything? Well, you'll find out when you get into the CAFR instead of the local budget. All right, so they've got this money. They make you, the taxpayer, though, believe that they've got to have 100% of what they're telling you the business cost is, even though they already have a lot of it. Follow me for a minute, okay? all over, they do it again. What happens to those funds that were already raised if, in fact, the taxes, we have a local school that built I believe the second or third largest school in the state of Minnesota, and it's in the middle of Podunk, USA. It's 15 miles or 10 miles from the city of Mankato, which is a large city. And yes, they have an influx of children from other school districts because of what's been going on educationally in Minnesota. But they surely don't need a school as large as they build. Where'd the money come from? Where'd the money go? You have to be asking those questions. So they propose this, they tell you it's going to cost, whatever, $100 million, and the taxpayers begrudgingly either approve it or they're just stuck with it. And that means every household's got to pay $4,000 in new taxes every 6 months. Now that seems astronomical to you, but the school district that I'm talking about, that's exactly what the taxes were raised in Maple Plain, Minnesota. $4,000 a household every 6 months to pay for this school that's astronomically large. Maybe we'll go do a video in the next week or two. Okay, so they get all this funding from you, they get all these taxes, and they say that's going to pay things. But then, of course, there's always the project overruns, right? And somehow they're going to come to you for more money. Now, folks, I'm just giving you one example here. One example of how you are overtaxed and money is hidden from you, and you don't know what the city's assets are or what they already have in their flood control plan and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And the reason you don't know is partially our fault. We have not been paying attention. Boy, COVID sure woke a lot of us up, didn't it? That scamdemic could not have backfired more on local government. We couldn't have planned a better scenario or synopsis to open our eyes, could we? All right. There's much more to this. We've got a whole seminar worked out on it, PowerPoint presentation, handbooks, and everything. I just wanted to give you a little taste and tell you, you need to contact City Hall or your county board, and you need to get your CAFR report, the latest one. Don't let them give you the one from 2011 like they pulled on me. You tell them you want the latest one. If 2023, then 2022 should already be done because we're 6 months in. And you do it through that FOIA request or public data request, and you start studying. And when you see red flags, you ask questions. Go to another public data request. Ask them to expound on something. That's a whole nother class we teach. All right, everybody from Operation Get Involved. My name is Keith. You'll find me on social media under 507 Patriot MN. I hope this was helpful to you. Please like it, share it, or even subscribe wherever you've seen this video. And have a great day.